Hi, my name's Lynn. Welcome back to my channel. And today I'm going to be book talking Lady Midnight by Cassandra Clare. This is the newest Cassandra Clare book and I am so excited. It's the first installment in the Dark Artifices trilogy, which is a trilogy that takes place 5 years after the events of the Mortal Instrument. First of all, let me say I loved this book. It was so good. Like, I was expecting to love it, but I wasn't expecting to love it as much as I do. Like, it's insane how much I love this book. Everything about it was just fantastic. Now, if you have not read The Mortal Instruments and The Infernal Devices, all of Cassandra Clare's books up until this book, not including the novellas, leave. Because don't stay. Just don't stay. Because if you read Lady Midnight and you haven't finished all the other books, it will spoil you, and probably a lot of the stuff in the book won't make sense because it does reference to a lot of Mortal Instruments things, so you probably won't understand what's going on. So if you have not read all the other Shadowhunter books, including novellas, leave, because I don't want you to get spoiled, because even me giving a synopsis will spoil you, but just keep in mind that it's worth it. Like, it's so good. Like, you might start like the other Shadowhunter books and be like, oh my god, this is so slow, it's boring, but it's worth it. So a lot of you probably know what Lady Midnight is about, but if you don't and you have read all the other Shadowhunter books and you're going to read this one, my best, like, the suggestion I'm going to give you is that don't, like, go into it blindly, because I didn't really know what Lady Midnight was about. I did get a little bit, like, read a bit of snippets that Cassandra Clare posted at times because I was impatient and I wanted to know, but other than that, I wasn't really entirely sure on what the plot was, and I think that makes it way better. So if you, my best suggestion for you guys is don't, like, go into it blindly. But if you would like to know, I will give a quick synopsis for you guys. Lady Midnight follows our main character Emma Carstairs and Julian Blackthorne, who, if you remember from Say Heavenly Fire, they were featured in the book. They are now 17 and 18 and they're parabatai. So if you remember, Emma Carstairs' parents got brutally murdered in City of Heavenly Fire, and that was never really solved. They said Sebastian did it, but Emma kind of knew that wasn't the truth. So she's still trying to figure out who killed her parents. There are some murders going around LA, and the book does take place in LA, the LA Institute, and there's some murders going around of mundanes in Fae. They don't know who's doing this, but they have to solve it because the Fae came up to them and said, if you solve these murders, we will give you back Mark Blackthorne, which is their brother who got taken from them from the wild hunt in City of Heavenly Fire. So of course they say yes, and they have 3 weeks to figure out who's doing these murders. And these murders, Emma believes, are somehow connected to the murders of her parents. So she really wants to figure this out, and she also wants to figure it out so they can all get Mark back. Also, the other part of this story is that parabatai, as you all know, are not allowed to be romantically involved. It's never said why, but everyone knows they're just not allowed to be romantically involved. And so Julian and Emma, they've been friends since they're, like, really little, and now they're 17 and 18, and, you know, they have feelings, and stuff happens that I can't really say, and that's all I'm going to say about the synopsis, because if I give you more, it will spoil you, so that's all I'm going to give you. You'll have to read the book to find out the rest. This book was fantastic. I definitely recommend you all go read it. It's just brilliant. I gave it a 95%. It was so good. I believe the next one comes out in 2 years, and I can't wait that long. Oh my god. But, you know, The Last Hours is coming out, you know, next year in March, and I'm so pumped for that. Will Hair and Nails in it. Woo! That's all I'm going to say for the non-spoiler section. Go pick it up, guys, and then you can join us back here to discuss it with us. I definitely recommend you go pick it up. It is fantastic. Bye, non-spoiler people. Bye, 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 bye. So, I have a lot of things to talk about. Well, okay. But first, I just want to talk about the siblings. Julian has, like, so many siblings. It took me, like, 30 pages at least, 30 to 50 pages to at least get the siblings, like, memorized. Like, so we've got so many. So we've got Mark and Helen, who are the oldest. Then we've got Julian. Then we got the twins, who are Livy and Ty. And then we got Drew, and then Tabby. Okay? I can't believe I memorized that. Like, it's honestly so hard, but I love them so much. Like, I thought they'd get annoying, and they weren't really annoying. There's only a couple times they're annoying, and I'll talk about that soon. But I really liked how they had flaws. Like, Ty, yes. He had, like, I don't know if he was dyslexic, or he had some sort of, like, learning disability or some sort of mental disability, and I really, really liked that because, you know, shadow hunters, when they see things like that, how, like, Julian just explained, they kind of think if that's, oh, that's not a perfect shadow hunter, we can't accept him. That's why they were scared to, like, let Ty go off places and stuff like that with other shadow hunters. But I really like how Cassie included things like that, because, I don't know, I feel like that can, if someone's reading the book, maybe that can relate to them a bit more. I don't know, I just thought it was really nice. And I love how Emma is really, like, good with kids. Oh my god, I love Emma Carter. You don't even know how much I want to be blonde right now so I can be Emma. Like, it's not even funny. I love Emma so much. She is honestly probably one of my favorite protagonists that are ever in the Shadowhunter Chronicles. Like, I'm not even kidding. She's like me. I'm not even kidding. She is the closest out of Tessa, Clary, and Emma. Out of the three, she is like the closest to me. Like, it's insane. We can't go through this video without talking about Gemma, our new ship here, and oh my god, you guys, oh my god, okay, I cried so much, like, I'm not even kidding, when, you know what, we're gonna get to that in a second, at the end of the book. So, okay, so first of all, you know, you kind of know, like, the romance starts right at the beginning. You know, the way they're looking at each other and the thoughts in their head, you're like, oh, stuff's about to go down. So, you know, you're not, it's so hard because, you know, you shipped, I don't see how you can't ship them, because you just feel so bad that it's probably never gonna happen what they want. Just because of that reason, you just, like, root for them harder, and you just want them to be together even more. And I think that's, oh my god, I just love them so much. Julian Blackthorne is, like, okay, I claimed him, like, he became my boyfriend when I read City of Heavenly Fire. And you know what? No one else claimed Julian when they read City of Heavenly Fire. No one else did, and I did. So, you know what? I will admit he was on the lower ranks of my boyfriend list, but now he's up there. He's like up there. And you know what? He's amazing. I think it's because he's older now, but I love him. He's amazing. Beach scene was by far my favorite. You know the beach scene, you know. Oh my god. You know what? I was not expecting that. Usually characters in YA don't have sex until the last book. Like, Clary and Jace had it in the last book, and then Tessa and Will had it in the last book, and, you know, it's the first book, so I was like, oh, stuff's gonna happen in the next two books. Oh, I was so happy. You don't know, I was squealing during that scene. I was, like, fanning myself because I was, like, getting sweaty. I was like, oh my god, this is so good. And I was like, all over the place. So, you know what, from there, I was like, okay, you know what, stuff's about to happen. And then Julian was like, oh, I don't really love you. And I was like, okay. And then they admitted they love each other, and you know what? Every time they were about to have a moment, one of his little, like, siblings had to knock on the door and be like, hello, hello. You know what? That's the only time his siblings ever annoyed me, okay? It was the art room, you know, the art room scene when they were in his studio, and, you know, they were talking and they were kissing, and then bam, someone had to knock on the door. In Emma's room, when he slept in her room, bam, Drew had to knock on the door. So, you know, I was like, okay, everything's going good for them. You know, they were like, oh, you know, we can find a way to make this work. We can sneak around. Yeah, it's gonna work out. I was so happy. I thought this would all work out perfectly. You know, I was kind of being a bit naive. I was like, you know what, it's all gonna work out. I never thought we would find out why Parabatai, we couldn't fall in love in this book. I thought that'd be something we find out, like, in the second book, but we did find out in this book, you know, from Jem. And okay, I'm talking about Jem and Tessa in a second. Don't worry, you guys. I was so, oh my god, I started fangirling so much when they appeared. But anyways, so we found out that, you know, I kind of suspected this. I got this. You know, when he applied the rune to her, when Emma applied the rune to Julian in the car, and it worked, and he should have died and everything. You know what? I knew it was because they loved each other that Parabatai couldn't be together, because if they loved each other, because they got stronger. I knew that, because from there I was like, that's weird. It shouldn't have worked, but it worked. So I was like, you know, it must be because of that reason. And at the end of the book, Jem tells her that's because of that. And, you know, they get magic powers and stuff like that. Emma, she was like, oh, now she goes to Julian. She was supposed to meet him on the beach, and then she didn't. And then, oh, you know, the fact is, she could have just told him. I don't understand why she could, like, okay, first of all, I understand why, you know, she'd have to break it off. Because people would start, when they started fighting together, people would start noticing, oh my god, something's up with them, they have these weird powers, that's the reason why. The Clay would know, okay? So I see why they're trying to protect themselves, but what I don't see is why she couldn't tell him the real reason. I don't understand. Like, this is, when she was doing that breakup scene, that's when the tears fell. Like, I was sobbing on my bed. And I was like, why? Like, why can't she just tell him the real reason? I don't understand, like, why? She had to make up the Mark thing? That's more tears fell down when that happened. Like, why? What really upsets me is why she could not tell him the truth. Like, he knows that she's lying and that she's protecting him from something. So at least he knows that. I hope he doesn't forget that at all, because I ship them so much. Like, you don't even understand. I haven't felt this way since the Infernal Devices, and that's a lot to say. I haven't felt this way since TID, and I just, you know what? That last scene, he's like, I'll never ever give up on you, Emma, and then she's holding her hand, she lets go, and she's like, you will. I was done there. I was done. I had heartache. Like, I had legit heartache. Like, I know what heartache feels like now. Like, it's just this pain in your chest that when I think about Emma and Julian, it just starts, like, hurting. You know what? That's all I have to say for now, because they're just, okay, you know what? By the second book, I want to say they're an OTP, because it takes a lot for a ship to become an OTP for me. Like, it takes a lot, and I don't know if I'm ready to say Gemma is an OTP, because I just met them, and I may wait till the second book to call them OTP, because I'll know them better, but, you know, they're like so close to becoming my OTP. Like, I'm not even kidding. I love them so much. So before we get on to talking about the actual story, like how I want to talk about Jem and Tessa. She, like, oh my goodness, like, Jem and Tessa, like, they were talked about so many times in this book, and they appeared at the end, and oh my god, I was literally, every time Jem or Tessa was mentioned, I would squeal. Like, I'd be like, like, it was insane. Like, I would just squeal, and then when Jem and Tessa came at the end, I was like, oh my god, I literally, see, I can't even speak. Like, I was on the verge of tears because I was just remembering Infernal Devices, and you guys know how much I love Jem, Tessa, and Will, and when Jem and Tessa were there, I was like, oh my god, I was just freaking out. You know what? Jem should adopt Emma and be her uncle. Because technically, they would be, like, distant cousins, because Jem's uncle would have been the one to have a kid, and then from there, that kid would be Jem's cousin, and then those kids, Jem's cousin would have kids, and that would eventually end up at Emma, so they'd be kind of cousins, but he said he might be her uncle if they ever, like, be an uncle figure. So, you know what, I don't care, I just want Jem to be in her life more, and he did say she could call for him anytime, so I hope we do see him and Tessa in the second book. I really want more of them. We did get Mortal Instruments characters as well, and I'm not forgetting about that short story, don't worry. Jason and Clary were talked about so many times in this book, like they were these idol figures, and it was awesome. Let's talk about the storyline. Okay, so this storyline was by far one of my favorites out of all the Shadowhunter books. I absolutely loved it. Like, people, okay, you know what's so annoying? One booktuber, I was watching a vlog, I was trying so hard to stay away from any Lady Midnight spoilers, because I got it like a week late, because I was on a trip, and I got it a week late, so I was staying so, like, away from spoilers, okay? I was watching someone's vlog, and I'm not mad at this booktuber, I just don't like when people do this in general, but she got the book, near the end of it, she's like, oh my god, guys, this book's so good, there's this plot twist, and I was like, why do you have to tell me there's a plot twist? So I was expecting a plot twist. And you know what? The thing about me is, when I get spoiled, thankfully, I forget about the spoiler 99% of the times when I'm reading it. You know what? I'm guessing the plot twist that person was talking about was that Malcolm was the Guardian. Did not expect that. You know what? I thought Malcolm was going to be like their Magnus, but it's not. It's an evil Magnus who's not gay. But, I didn't expect that. I also, when Diana was there, I was like, oh, this is going to be another Hodge thing. It wasn't. Like, this was so, you would think that there'd be like, it kind of, you know, mirrored the Mortal Instruments, sort of, but it didn't. Like, it was so unique and original and fantastic, and I even loved Mark. I thought I would hate Mark because I didn't like his attitude at the beginning, first of all, but he turned around and I really ended up liking him. And the Fae, that they were involved as well. You know what? I never trusted Faye. You know what? I thought it was strange that they came to them in the first place and was like, help us. I was like, no, they don't just do that. That's weird. You know, something shady is going on. You know, they're a part of it as well. Like, I don't know what's gonna happen. Honestly, I don't know what's gonna happen because they solved the thing with Malcolm. Malcolm's dead. But at the end, at the epilogue, it's like Annabelle opened her eyes or whatever. So Annabelle's back. I don't know what she's gonna do. She's gonna be a bad guy. I have like so many things I want to say and it's so hard, but what I'm trying to say is they didn't solve, this book ended like Clockwork Angel. It did. And that's what hurt me so much. Like, it's not a bad thing, but it is in my heart. It's a bad thing because I'm in pain. But it, like, ended without really solving the problem, kind of. Like, it's like Malcolm's dead. That's good. But then there's the Fae. Like, what's his name? Irelarth? I can't pronounce his name. But he was in on this whole thing. And, you know, he's still alive. We don't know what's going to happen to him. Like, him and Annabelle, I don't know. They could like, go up to the Institute and, like, hurt Julian and Emma. And I don't know, honestly, what's going to happen. Because they didn't do anything about the Fae. The ones who were, like, you know, plotting against them. So, you know, things can happen in the next book. So the storyline for this book was by far my favorite. I absolutely loved it, and it was just fantastic. I'm going to talk about my theories and concerns for the next book because, you know what, I think I'm getting in a reading slump. I just want to reread Lady Midnight again because I'm just that depressed. But the thing, oh my god. You know what, I'm going to talk about my concerns right now, and okay, so first one is about Gemma, because she was like, at the end, it ended exactly like Clockwork Angel. Remember Clockwork Angel? Will goes to Maggie and he's like, can you help me? And she's like, okay, with what? And then bam, it ends. We're waiting, like, oh my god, what's gonna happen? What's Will gonna tell him? Like, why does he need help? Right? This ends exactly like that, except we know the problem. You know, Emma has to go to Mark and she's like, you owe me a favor, you know, pretend you're in love with me, pretend we're falling in love. And you know what? I started sobbing again at that part. You know, I was like, why can't you just tell Julian the truth? But, you know, Mark doesn't really question her. He's like, yeah, I owe you something. Bam, we're good. But then at the very end, the last paragraph on the last page of the book, he's like, okay, blah, 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 they're talking about it. And then he says, okay, but why? Why, may I ask? And bam, book ends. Like, I don't like that. What's she gonna tell him? Oh, and that's my concern about that is that now that she's faking a relationship with Mark, will she start having feelings for Mark? Like, that's my main concern. I'm stressing out over that because I don't want anything to get in between Gemma. Like, I swear, if Julie and Emma don't have babies by the end of TDA, or they're married, or they're at least a sturdy couple, I will jump off my roof and die. Like, that sounds serious, that sounds very dark, but I feel like I'll do that. Also, I don't want Julian starting to like anyone else too. I'm scared of that because, you know, he said I'll never give up on you, and I'm hoping you don't, Julian, because I trust you, I love you, but I feel like Cassandra Clare will do that. I don't, So my other thing I want to talk about Julian that I forgot to mention before was that his secret. Oh my god, you know what? When I found out he was running the Institute, like, I already felt bad for him that he was acting like a father figure to all his, like, he's 17. He should be out there partying, you know, having the time of his life, right? But he's instead being a parent, and he had to do that since he was like 12, 13, and that honestly broke my heart because I can't imagine anyone doing that when they're so young, and it's so sad. I felt so bad for him, and, you know, it was finding out, why do they even keep Arthur around? Honestly, I understand why, but he does nothing. I would kill that guy. That sounds really harsh, but I'm kind of stressed out right now because of the book. Okay, that's all I have to say about the actual Lady Midnight book. It was fantastic. Oh my god. So now I'm going to talk about the extra short story, and all the people who filmed the reviews mostly got the arc, so they didn't get to talk about the short story. But if you're here, if you're watching this, we get to talk about the short story. really honest right now. I was very, very upset. I was still there were still tears on my face from Julian and Emma at the end of the book. So I'm gonna be honest here. I wasn't really paying that much attention to the short story. I was more thinking about Julian and Emma, but the short story, from what I was paying attention, was really, really good. We did find out, as Cassie said, what couple, main couple is getting married in TDA, Lady Midnight, sorry, and that was Sizzy. I never really shipped Sizzy, to be honest. I was like, eh. But it's nice that they're getting married. I love Isabel, so it's good that she's getting married. But I heard, I was watching an interview of Cassie, and she's like, oh, people were asking, is Clay going to get married? And then she was like, oh, you'll find out in the short story. And I thought that he was going to propose, and he did. But that's when they got called to see Julian and Emma and the ley lines, whatever thing that happened when they portaled there. Yeah, oh my god. I think they're going to get married. I personally do. She's probably going to say yes in the second book, and they're going to get married, and Julia and Emma are going to go to the wedding. They're going to go together as a couple, and it's all going to work out. If it doesn't work out, I will cry. I will not stop crying for days. If TDA is making me feel like this, The Last Hours, which comes out next year, I'm pretty sure it'll be even worse. All I have to really say for this book talk. I hope you guys really enjoyed it. Comment down below, please comment down below what your thoughts are on Lady Midnight. I absolutely loved it. If you couldn't tell, I just, oh my god, I can't explain how I feel about this book. I just love it so much, and it's causing me so much pain, like how any Cassandra Clare book does. So, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all in my next one. Goodbye!